Hello everyone, Dice here again. Today's going to be a simple rundown of netrunning in Cyberpunk Red. No fluff, just an explanation as if I'm sitting right by you at your table. Now keep in mind, this is not going to be too detailed, this is just going to help you get going. Netrunning is a big learning curve for anyone in Cyberpunk Red. It's got a lot of extra things you have to take into account, and no matter what you take from this video, I really recommend you pop open the core rulebook to page 195. And to note, this is more for the player side rather than the GM side of things. First things first, if you're not a netrunner with interface, you're not going to be doing any netrunning at all. Things can be hacked with normal skills, and even computers can be hacked with electronics and security tech skill rolls. But the difference is time. Manual hacking can take a long time, whereas netrunning through interface can be done within seconds. That's the real benefit of a netrunner. You're not going to be able to pull off manual hacking mid-combat. So, you need specific things as a netrunner to be able to do this. You'll need a neural link, interface plugs, a cyber deck, and virtuality goggles. If you do not have these things, you are not going to be able to pull off netrunning. But with the equipment and the warnings out of the way, let's get to the meat of it. Literally, the difference between what you do in the net and real life is determined by meat actions, which are your normal actions, and net actions, which are only things that are doable in the net. Your net actions are determined by your rank in interface, and starting out, you'll have 3, because when you start a character and pick your role, you get 4 ranks in that role. So, since you have rank 4 interface, you have 3 net actions. You can move as much as you want in the net, but in meat space, you'll be moving like normal. From here on out, assume I'm talking about net actions unless I directly say meat actions, okay? So, to get into the net itself, you'll need to use one of your interface abilities to scan for an access point. Under interface, you get a set of abilities that each govern what you do in the net, and all use net actions, except one, which is scanner, and that uses a meat action. Think of it like a perception roll, but you're detecting where you can jack in. Jacking in costs you a net action, and you also need line of sight to the access point you're trying to use. This is all done wirelessly like Bluetooth, but walls can block it, so keep that in mind. Once you're in, as long as you stay within 3 tiles or 6 meters and in line of sight. Now that you're in the net, your other abilities come into play. To give you a full list of what these abilities are, you've got Backdoor to help you around passwords, Cloak to hide what you're doing or have done in the net from being detected, Control to use things in the net at their appropriate nodes like cameras, ID to help you identify data and files, Pathfinder to partially reveal the map of the net the higher you roll, Slide to get past black ice, which I'll talk about later, Zap, which is a damaging ability that you can use as many times per turn as you have net actions, and Virus, which is as it sounds, you make your own virus. And you're not only getting these new net actions either, you also now have defense and speed, which help protect you when you're in the net just straight up. And don't forget, there's an entire different initiative order in the net, so be ready for that too. It comes up whenever it's your turn in meat space. Smartest thing you can do the moment you get into the net is, if you can use Pathfinder, do it. Trust me. And you'll be rolling those interface abilities based off of your interface rank, not your stats. Just your interface rank plus a D10. You'll feel like it's low at first due to the fact that you're used to having your stats added in. Don't worry, you're fine. Everyone goes through this as a netrunner. The main thing that you're going to run into in the net as an obstacle are things called black ice. These baddies are best thought of like traps being sprung. Once you enter a room in the net with one in it, they'll move to immediately hit you, which you try to beat by a higher speed roll than it. If it beats your speed, you get hit, and you get the effect that comes along with it. If you beat its speed roll, you're fine, but it still goes to the top of your net initiative. They all can do this, and can do anything from damage your brain directly to kick you out of the net entirely. They can also directly destroy programs in your cyber deck. To get away from black ice, you can either slide or defeat them by de-resing them. You can either use Zap to damage them, or you can use your programs to do so. Which, by the way, let's go over what programs are too before we go further. Programs are going to be the way you battle things in the net, protect yourself, or give yourself some extra bonuses. They are your gear for running. You have a whole mess of them to choose from, and they can be stacked too, with multiple copies in your deck. To use them, you have to res them, which is smart to do once you get into a net, but some, like attack programs, don't need to. When you res something, it uses a net action, just so you know. But when it comes to attack programs, they just res and de-res when you attack with them. When attacking, you'll be adding that program's listed attack value to your roll. So, it'll be the interface plus the attack plus a d10, which, for example, a sword program gives you +1 more to your roll. Sword is also the prime anti-program attack. You'll be using it the most against normal black ice. The whole list of all the programs and their types that you can pick from, and even buy including black ice, all start after page 202 in the core rulebook. I would not be able to cover it all here and keep this video as short as it needs to be. Your goal in a net run is as varied as the gigs you take. You don't always have to reach the bottom of an architecture to get what you want. And not everything has an architecture either. Don't forget that manual hacking is a thing and doable with normal skills. That's how you hack things like agents. Access points are anything that could be connected to a net architecture. A go-to of mine is thermostat controls, cameras, computers of course, and even electronic door panels. And be very careful when it comes to jacking out of the net. If you have any black ice in the net that you've triggered but not dealt with, if you jack out without handling it, it'll hit you on your way out for free. That's called an unsafe jackout and can happen too if you move out of range of the access point or are hit with certain black ice. Still with me? Good, because I warned you netrunning can be a bit much. There are other things too I haven't touched on, like cyberdeck upgrades, what you can do with viruses, the kinds of black ice there is, and even netrunner versus netrunner combat. There's a lot. But this is enough to get your foot in the door and some page references too. If you want me to go a bit more in depth here, I can. Just let me know in the comments and I'll make good on it. I don't mind doing an additional video for netrunning. And even with the help of Z, hi Z, he's editing this, we could even do an example netrun for you. He's one of the main netrunners in my game. His information's down in the description too if you want to peek him out. Next video is going to be around unique ranged combat situations, just like when we covered for Melee. There is a ton of things GMs must know on the back end about netrunning too, but for a new player, you should be set. Take care everyone, and I hope you find yourselves a good table.